Great to be joined here on Country Viewpoint by Ripley Atkinson for Meat and Livestock Australia. How are you, Ripley?
Yeah, good, thanks, Ricky. Good, thanks. Nice to be here.
Yep, we want to focus, I think, first of all on sheep. Some of the commentary we've picked up across the week, and of course it's a bit of a disrupted week for some markets with public holidays, but maybe a low offering and a poor offering in parts of Western Victoria and southern New South Wales on the sheep front.
Yeah, Ricky, you're right. So what we've seen from Wagga this week after not having a sale last Thursday, numbers were relatively firm around 28,000 head across both sheep and lambs, and certainly with the fact that the winter cropping season for a lot of those southern New South Wales producers into Victoria is shaping up or is a few days away from beginning. It certainly had an impact on the overall availability of supply. So Horsham in the Western Districts as well, numbers were softer again. So a lot of what we're seeing in this tighter supply currently is related to those shorter selling weeks, firstly, and secondly, the fact that the winter cropping season has either started for these regions or is not far from beginning.
Yeah, but even so, I guess on the sheep front, just looking more broadly at the National Trade Lamb Indicator, it does appear that prices are still around where they were at this time last year, going through the usual seasonal cycle.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct, Ricky. So a lot of the supply through the trade lamb indicator we've seen has been relatively strong, and certainly the processing numbers further down the supply chain are reflecting that. We have seen that decline across the National Trade Lamb Indicator for quite some time. It has picked up just recently, but it's been relatively stable or sliding in terms of how it's performed over the last couple of weeks with these shorter selling weeks and rain in some key regions.
Let's have a quick look now at what's been happening on the cattle front. All the action seems to have been in Queensland and northern New South Wales, certainly on the positive pricing front, but still healthy prices for cattle across the nation and in southeastern Australia.
Yeah, very much so. So the prices have been quite strong. Certainly in South Australia itself, we've seen at Narracourt on Tuesday some really strong prices. Certainly the processors have been dominating that market for the last couple of weeks, and we've seen some strong prices out of there. At the minute, processors are averaging 385 cents a kilo across the different specs. So they've been purchasing around 45% of the market there, albeit from a smaller yarding on Tuesday, but it's been in quite a strong position. And then when we look across into southern New South Wales, a similar situation for Wagga. When Wagga had a sale about 10 days ago, the processors were also purchasing a significant volume there as well as the feeders. So the feeder buying and the processors have been quite strong, but still the restocker presence is driving that market, traditionally operating at a premium to all the other buyers.
Yeah, probably a bit much to ask you about making a prediction, but I imagine that with the public holidays and some of those markets disrupted, you probably will see a fair amount put up when the next session comes in after the break.
It's an interesting one. Certainly, we've seen some tighter throughput of supply, both in the sheep and cattle market. But when we look even at the throughput in terms of slaughter, Ricky, it's also been quite strong. So lamb throughput across the nation for slaughter volumes last week did come back, but it was still in a stronger position than 2020, which is telling us that those forward contracts which producers have subscribed to are delivering supply to the market. But then when we look across at cattle, numbers were certainly well down. So in terms of throughput, the yardings have certainly impacted the cattle market more so. And once we start to return to full selling weeks and the cropping season begins to ease or to level out from the height of the initial beginning, we'll look to see supply return to historically traditional volumes.
All right, well, we'll keep tracking that each week here at Flow. Thanks very much, Ripley Atkinson from Meat and Livestock Australia, for your report this week. Really appreciate it.
Thanks very much, Ricky.